There is a supernatural world that surrounds us, and sometimes it manifests to people like you and me. You'll hear stories about this so much more right here on Supernatural Confrontations. I'm here at the Prophecy Watcher studio. They're letting me use their set with Mondo Gonzales and our director, Tyler Wood over there, and he is amazing when it comes to directing. He's really, anyway, I digress as usual. But we'll get into this about the red heifer and so much more. But first, a word from our trusted sponsor. Can you imagine your cell phone company leaking your social security number? Good grief. That's what happened to 63,000 individuals who had their private data exposed during a recent data breach. This is why I protect myself with today's sponsor, Virtual Shield, and I absolutely love them. Folks, Virtual Shield's military grade VPN helps protect my private information from the prying eyes of cyber criminals, data mining companies, tech giants, rogue ISPs, and so much more. Start browsing the internet anonymously today with up to 67% off and a 60-day risk-free trial of Virtual Shield by visiting preparewithlamarzulli.com. That's preparewithlamarzulli.com, or simply click the link down in the description box below. Once again, preparewithlamarzulli.com. Don't wait, folks. Do it today. So I'm here in studio, and I'm kind of leeching off Prophecy Watchers, and we're not wearing any makeup, by the way, for those of you who think that we wear makeup, because we don't, even back in California. But Mondo, there's a lot of talk about the red heifers, and it's going to happen soon. And then you hear reports that maybe this whole altercation, which resulted in the war, 190 some odd days since October 7th, resulted in the fact that Hamas found out that Israel was getting ready to sacrifice the red heifers, and you see ramps and pictures of all this. I mean, there's a lot of scuttlebutt around the internet. You've written a book on this. You're the go-to guy. What's going on in your opinion?
Well, I think the challenge that you have is that people see a little bit of error, and then they say, oh, there's error there, and then they respond, they rubber band, all the way to there's nothing to see here, there's not the red heifer is not important at all. So we don't want to err in either way. We want to stick to the facts that we can vet, but also not to deny that there is something significant about these 5 red heifers that were flown to Israel in September of 22. So let's start there. Let's not err on either side. I think speaking about Hamas, they came out. The thing happened. The terrorist attack happened in October of last year. Well, it was 100 days later that they came out claiming that the red heifers were the reason. Now we know that they don't need a reason. They're a terrorist organization. They've been trying to kill Jews and soldiers and capture soldiers they've had for decades. So we could dismiss that right out of the gate. But nevertheless, they are the masters, truly, at propaganda. And so in order to get up their followers, or just the average Arab that's living in the land of Israel, they try to, Hamas in their media publications, I guess, they're trying to whip up a frenzy people. And so it's easy to do that because what has been in the news is these 5 red heifers.
Right.
They came over with much fanfare. The press was there. They are currently in Shiloh in Israel, which they're staying there, and they're relatively protected. But again, Hamas saw that and thought this is a great way to bring attention to the cows, because we know that the cows are part of this movement, this broader Third Temple movement, which has gone on since 1967. As soon as Israel retained control of the Temple Mount, that is when the Third Temple movement truly began.
Right.
And it's picked up steam. Even amongst the Jews, when I say the Jewish rabbis, there's factions there, just like in Jesus' day, so nothing new. You have some that are interested in the Third Temple, others that say, no, the Messiah will build it himself, we're not going to touch it. So these are the two things that you have which contribute to the confusion. But I mean, there's a lot more here for sure.
And what I want you to drill into the fact that biblical prophecy, in my opinion, from reading it, states that there's going to be a third temple built. So there are people saying that's never going to happen. That's allegory. It's it's talking about something spiritual. But I know you and I believe that what we're looking at is something real. So the idea that the temple is about to be rebuilt or could be rebuilt. Now that leads me to the fact that these 5 red heifers, there's a window of time, according to the Levitical law, which in order to sacrifice them and then spread the ashes and all that, we're running out of time. Is that a true statement?
Well, not necessarily.
Okay.
I mean, because we know that there's a minimum time, and that is 2 years and 1 month. We know their birth dates. I document that. And again, I've documented on 2 different people that were there, and they both agreed, yep, those are the dates, October 5th through the 12th of 2021. So as of November 5th through the 12th of 2023, which is 2 years and 1 month, they became of age. And so that is 100% fact. Now, what they've been discussing since July of last year, even before they came of age, was, hey, everybody, when this is the Temple Institute saying this, and Boneh Israel, another group that's been involved with bringing the cows over, hey, we want to have this ceremony on Passover of 2024. So that, they've been saying this 9 months. They had a 9 months projection date. Well, back in the fall, I was talking to Byron Stinson, and he said very clearly, "Hey, Mondo, pray for me because I'm trying to find live streaming for 800 million people." Okay, 800 million. So their original goal was to live stream this event. They're excited about it. They're excited about doing the ceremony on the Mount of Olives. It's not on the Temple Mount.
Right.
Okay, it can't happen on the Temple Mount because that's not where it's supposed to happen according to the Mishnah.
Okay.
It has to happen outside of the camp according to Numbers chapter 19. So, but I will tell you this. So when he asked me that, I was like, yeah, of course, pray the Lord blesses you and whatever God has you do. Okay, but it wasn't long after that when Hamas came out with this comment, and then the Israeli government kind of changed their tune because the Israeli government, it is very religious. Okay, we know that, but they're stuck in this court of public opinion, and as they have continued to go into Gaza with Hamas, the world has come against them. So they have this pressure on the United States, for this pressure from the European Union, and so now something changed in their attitude towards having the ceremony. It changed from being open to it to now being against it, and I have that firsthand. Byron told me that the Israeli government wants no press as it relates to the red heifer.
Wow.
And so that changed because of all the war going on and them trying to keep the United States happy. So if they do this, it's going to be like
a secret.
Well, no, what I'm saying is if Israel grants permission,
Right.
it's going to they're going to be accused by the U.S. government of putting fuel.
Right.
And that, of course, is going to hurt relationships. So right now, the Israeli government is, the red heifers, no matter what their positive view or neutral view was before, it has now become, that's not a priority for us. We have bigger fish to fry than to allow this to happen and inflame the situation. So here we are, we're coming up on April 22nd, which is Passover. That was the original thought. And they had a window. They said, well, we would love to do it between Passover and Shavuot. Now, not the Christian Pentecost, but Hebrew Shavuot, which happens in June 10th or 12th, something like that.
All right.
So that's the window. But I don't, as of what I see now, as we know, things are stepping up with Iran. I don't think that window is going to be there. But let me, one more last thing.
Go ahead.
The window, when does it close?
Yeah.
Well, some rabbis say they can be 4 years, 5 years. And so the current rabbis haven't decided what is the final deadline.
Cutoff date.
The cutoff date. So we don't know that. We don't know, even in the rabbinic thinking, whether some say there's no cutoff date. So depending on which rabbi you listen to from 1,500 years ago.
Sure, right.
So that's where I think they haven't decided where there's a cutoff date. There was a start date. They agreed on that, 2 years and 1 month, but there's no cutoff date.
Is it possible that they'll do it secretly on Passover?
So that's what I actually, even last fall, when I was talking to Byron, when he said 800 million, I said, Byron, from a security reason, I don't know how you could do that. My suggestion would be you would do it secretly,
Right.
but I don't think they could even do it secretly now because,
Everybody's looking for it.
well, everybody knows. I mean, if I can write about the 2 pieces of property that they own, where on the Mount of Olives they would happen, in my book, I got a map there. I mean, if I can find it, then certainly anybody else could too.
Sure.
And but you're in an Arab section. You're across the Kidron Valley.
Right.
You know, you're on the Mount of Olives.
Right.
Right to the south there is the village of Silwan, which is a very strong Arab, 100% Palestinian Arab village. So you're talking. I mean, we're talking about a 600, 700, maybe larger, 900-pound cow that will be burned with wood. I mean, this is a major bonfire.
You're going to see it.
You're going to see the smoke.
Right.
I mean, there's no way you could hide that.
Okay.
Even if you started at night,
Right.
you'd see the flames.
Yeah.
And then it takes a couple days for the ashes, because they've done practice things on this. I document that in the book too. But it takes a couple days for the ashes to cool off.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no way they could hide it. Everybody in that area would see a
gonna know.
bonfire, and they're looking.
Now, the whole idea of this is to consecrate the Temple Mount, because the Jews can't go up to the Temple Mount, right?
Well-
they can get near it, the Wailing Wall, but they can't set foot on top of the Temple Mount. Is that true?
Well, yes and no.
Okay.
Because originally, going back to the 50s and before, the rabbinic movement was unified in speaking against religious Jews or any Jews from going on the Temple Mount. Well, that's changed. Now you have groups, again, the factions.
Right.
Other factions are going, no, and they go up there. They go up
Right,
there
right.
all the time. And even Itamar Ben-Gvir, the first day that they came into power, back in December
Right.
of 22,
Up he went.
He went. So they're challenging the status quo even amongst the rabbinic factions. So, but they also know that the whole thing is desecrated anyway. So they can go up there, but what they do is they follow the perimeter, and so they don't want to participate in getting too close to what we'd understand as the original temple precincts to bring desecration, even though they know it's already desecrated. So the ashes of the red heifer solve many things. Number one, it provides for the purification of the physical area.
Mm-hmm.
It provides purification for the average Israeli who would eventually participate in a temple service, because you can't go up there if you're defiled, ritually impure. It also is going to provide opportunity for ritual purity to be given towards other priests. Now, they do have priests that have never been defiled since the time they were young. They weren't even born in hospitals. You can't be born in hospitals,
Wow.
anything. It's very fascinating. They have some of those. But the average person, even in the priestly line that they know, needs to be purified. So the ashes of the red heifer have a variety of applications, and that is what their ultimate goal is. Now, I will say this. If the politics allowed, they could build the temple now. They just couldn't use it. Not until the red heifer ceremony is complete.
And what I want to drill into, my last question for you, we talk about the Temple Mount. I've been there, and you and I, together, and we walked it, and I realized that there's plenty. I mean, it's 40 acres.
37 acres.
Yeah.
It's huge.
So
Yep.
it's huge area. There's plenty of room to keep the Dome of the Rock and the Well of Souls and Al Aqsa without touching anything. By the east gate, let's say this is the Temple Mount. So by the east gate, let's say right here, there's this whole area that's not
huge,
being
yeah.
used.
Yep.
It's 10 acres. I mean, how much room do you really need? 10 acres is a lot of space. So your thoughts about the rebuilding of the temple?
Well, what we do know is everything else is ready. Okay, they have
All the
cornerstones,
implements,
all the
cornerstones, everything.
Yep, all the other things.
That thing will go up really quick.
Yeah, it can go up quick. And
Very
and
quick.
the other thing that, again, I've seen the architectural plans for it when I was visiting with a guy in Dallas who's friends with Netanyahu. I saw it. And at least the way those plans were designed is you have the Dome of the Rock, and there was a wall, like a 20-foot wall just to the north.
Which is prophetic.
Yeah.
Absolutely prophetic.
So here, potentially, they could have that. But the second thing I would say is that hypothetically, if you already had the ashes of the red heifer are preparatory. That's their goal, is so that they have that done, and maybe it's years before the temple is even started or they get permission. But they want to get this out of the way because it is the last piece of the temple puzzle, which is my subtitle. But they could whip up a tabernacle.
Very quickly.
That's the way the red heifer was originally used outside the camp in sacrifices. They could whip that up. They could start doing their mitzvahot, their commandments, and then they could build a building around it as they're doing it. I actually think that the temple will not be built until the Antichrist makes his agreement, his covenant.
And I agree. Well, that's scriptural.
Yeah, it's not. Well, he says in Daniel 9:27, he will make a covenant with the many for 1 week. We don't most people associate that with the security covenant, and which it could do that, but the primary emphasis of that passage is sacrifices and offerings. We see that in the next section. But in the middle of the week, offerings and sacrifices will cease. That tells me the main component of the covenant itself within the context has to do with the Mosaic system. So I think now that could include security naturally. So when the Antichrist comes, he's going to have the ability to make an agreement with them to reestablish the Mosaic system, which includes offerings and sacrifices, which of course includes a temple. And he's going to have this security or the power, the ability to be able to enforce that. And then all we know, what do we know? We know that by the midpoint of the tribulation, the temple is in operation because the sacrifices are already happening and they cease. So, so all these things that we're seeing show us that we are getting closer and closer to the start of that tribulation period and the agreement, that covenant agreement, which involves the sacrificial system.
Wow. Well, there you have it, folks. You know, we carry Mondo's book, and you can go to our store, lamarzulli.net. Mondo, thanks so much for joining us here, and thank you, Prophecy Watchers, for allowing us to use the facility. I will be speaking in June at the Prophecy Watchers Conference. Tell us how to check that out.
Yeah, I mean, people can go to prophecywatchers.com. Otherwise, they can go to watchersweekendcolorado.com. Right. Again, you can see all the list of the speakers.
That's going to be a real hoot.
Yeah, we got over 20 speakers. It's going to be great. And I mean, again, things are happening so fast. It's always good to stay up to date.
It'll be here before you know it. Anyway, folks, next weekend, not this coming weekend, but the following weekend, I will be in Jupiter, Florida, speaking Friday night, Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon. No repeats. They're all different presentations. So buckle up. You got to register. That's the Jupiter Calvary. The links are up on our site, lamarzulli.com. Thanks so much for watching. Remember, there's a supernatural world that surrounds us, and sometimes it manifests to people like you and me. Thank you. Hey folks, I have a special announcement. We just opened up a new website. It's called RoswellRevisited.com. RoswellRevisited.com. I want to thank Chauncey Green for getting that set up for it. Please go there and check it out. We've got a deal for you. We really do. Both of these incredible DVDs. This is real investigative journalism. RoswellRevisited.com. Go check it out now. And we've got a special deal for both of these 2 DVDs, and I think you'll find it interesting. By the way, when you guys buy the DVDs from us or watch on our streaming station, you help keep the lights on here and keep us moving the ball further down the court. UFOs are real, burgeoning, and not going away. RoswellRevisited.com, RoswellRevisited.com. And before I go, I want to give a shout out to Gil Zimmerman, because Gil and I worked on this film, and I think it's the best 2 films we've ever created in our entire time together and in the entire UFO film series. 9 and 10 will be coming out very shortly. More about that soon. Meantime, RoswellRevisited.com. Thanks so much.